How many people can say that their first memory is of their father saving their life and the life of their brother? It does sound nostalgic and almost beautiful to be able to say such a thing about your father. However, war is only nostalgic and beautiful if you haven't had to live through it or be traumatized by it. In 1985, I was 4 years old. I had two brothers at the time, and my mother was pregnant with my third brother. At that time, my youngest brother Edward had to go to the doctor's, which was at the bottom of Clarendon Street in Derry. It wasn't for anything very serious. It was the kind of routine checkup that any 1 year old might get. At that time, British soldiers patrolled the streets, while paramilitaries from both nationalist or Republican backgrounds and paramilitaries from loyalist or unionist backgrounds would often be involved in battles or attacks using explosives. On this particular occasion, my mother had taken my little brother Edward to the doctor's. My father, me, and my other brother Jared had all come along. Like any small children, Jared and I got very bored in the waiting room, and our father had decided to take us outside to get some fresh air and, I imagine, so that he could smoke a cigarette. I don't remember what the weather was like, but it was a dull day, so I think it might have been autumn or winter. I don't remember it being cold or warm. What I do remember about that day, I remember very vividly. I remember the grey wall outside of the doctor's. I remember that the stone was old and similar to the stones of the 400-year-old walls that surround Derry city centre. Walls that I wasn't allowed to walk on, that no one was allowed to walk on other than the British Army. I remember that the front courtyard of the doctor's was very tiny, very small, maybe 3 or 4 feet long and 10 feet wide, just as it is still today. But most of all, I remember what happened when my father lit his cigarette. I remember the sound of the match scoring across the matchbox, the ignition of the match itself. I remember watching with great intent, as though it was some sort of fireworks show, some spectacular display, because everything's new when you're that age. Almost as soon as he lit his cigarette, there were 4 or 5, maybe 10 loud cracking noises in a row. Crack, 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 crack. Immediately, my father grabbed me and Jared and brought us straight to the ground. He held us close behind the wall. He had his right hand on top of my head and his other hand on top of Jared's. I wasn't scared at all. I didn't know I should be scared. I asked my father what was going on. He told me that people were shooting at each other. I asked who, and then I tried to stand up to take a look. My father gently restrained me so that I couldn't stand up. As a child, I didn't know how dangerous it was. I just wanted to see the interesting thing that was happening behind the wall. Obviously, my father didn't let me stand up. He explained that it was dangerous, and he kept us there for what felt like a long time after the shooting had stopped. Eventually, when he was satisfied that it was safe, we ventured back inside to the doctor's, where everyone seemed to be gathered in one room at the back of the doctor's surgery. My mother was in tears and she rushed right up to us and held us all in her arms. I can still remember the feeling of her tears from her cheek rolling down onto mine. Today there's peace in Derry, and I'm grateful for that. I am grateful I've never had to save the lives of my children.